Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. here in Kenya, Skype to Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I am your ambassador, Paul Madenge. Now let's kick off what's happening. Sudan has vowed to take the United Arab Emirates to the International Court of Justice, accusing it is supporting Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces in the civil war. Khartoum argues that the United Arab Emirates is complicit in the genocide of the Marasid community in the West Darfur through its military, financial, and political backing for the rapid support forces.
In a move to seek for justice, Sudan has accused UAE for supporting the RSF in the civil war, the allegations which the UAE has strongly rejected, calling the case a cynical publicity stunt and saying it will seek an immediate dismissal. The war, which began in April 2023, involved both RSF and Sudanese army, which have been accused of committing atrocities.
The court meets this morning under Article 74, Paragraph 3 of the Rules of Court to hear the single round of oral arguments of the Republic of the Sudan on its request for the indication of provisional measures submitted in the case concerning application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in Sudan, Sudan versus United Arab Emirates. The court included upon the bench no judge of the nationality of either party. Accordingly, both parties availed themselves of the right under Article 31, Paragraph 3 of the statute to choose a judge ad hoc to sit in the case.
The RSF has also been accused of committing genocide in Darfur against the region's non-Arabic groups.
We took refuge in a hospital. Paramilitaries from the Rapid Support Forces chased us to the hospital and tried to kill everyone. We tried to escape. My mother, my grandmother, my aunt and I took refuge in a place called Mukta. In Mukta, they did an extermination. They killed all the people. They put them on the ground in groups of 20 and shot at the group.
My nephew was only 2 months old. When he was beaten, his mother did not take him off her back. On her way to Adra, she pulled him off her back to find him dead.
They killed many men. They raped girls. They raped women. They killed men and young boys.
The war displaced thousands as hundreds lost their lives during the sad scenes that were experienced. ICJ is yet to clear and give a report on whether it will consider the case as genocide according to Sudan's submission.
The death toll from the tragic roof collapse at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, has risen to 180 as of today. The disaster occurred early Tuesday morning during a merengue concert, leaving over 200 others injured. Rescue efforts have now shifted to recovery operations, with no new survivors found since Tuesday afternoon. Among the deceased are prominent figures such as a merengue artist, Rugby Perez, and several government officials. Authorities continue to investigate the cause of the collapse, while families anxiously await news of their loved ones outside forensic facilities. President Luis Abinader has declared 3 days of national mourning to honor the victims. Egypt is calling for increased international support to address the growing migration crisis as the country facing mounting pressure from the large number of refugees it hosts. During the second ministerial meeting of the EU Horn of Africa Migration Route of Initiative, Egypt's Foreign Minister Abdar Abdelatty highlighted Egypt's success in halting migrant boats since 2016, but emphasized the urgent need for investment in job creation and services for the refugees to prevent further migration to Europe.
During the second ministerial meeting of the EU Horn of Africa Migration Route Initiative, Egypt's Foreign Minister Abdelatty urged European nations to provide more support to tackle the migration crisis. Since implementing its national migration strategy in 2016, Egypt has successfully prevented migrant boats from leaving its coast. However, Abdelatty emphasized the need for further assistance in three critical areas: support for host communities, investment to create jobs, and efforts to prevent irregular migration to Europe. With over 9 million refugees currently residing in Egypt, including those from Syria, Yemen, and Sudan, the country faces significant pressure on its public services such as healthcare and education.
We need the support of course to host communities, especially for basic services, including healthcare, including education. Number three, we need more investment in order to create jobs. We have, as I mentioned, 10 million refugees living here, and they have access to our labor market. They need more jobs. Otherwise, they would like to risk their lives and coming to Europe via illegal migration through the Mediterranean.
At the same time, the loss of funding from the U.S. Agency for International Development has left a major gap in humanitarian aid for countries along the migration route, including Egypt. Germany's Minister of State at the Federal Foreign Office acknowledged that the reduced funds from U.S. aid are creating a difficult situation, with no one able to fully replace the lost support.
We all know US aid has been the biggest donor. The second biggest donor was Germany. And I think it is no secret to tell you that the gap by US aid, we will not completely fill this gap. Nobody is able to fill it. It's a catastrophe. But we are trying to keep up our level as much as we can.
Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
There was a sense of uncertainty among humanitarian organizations and food aid recipients throughout Somalia. Officials announced on Wednesday that the Trump administration has reserved extensive cuts of emergency food assistance for several countries, while still maintaining reductions in Afghanistan and Yemen, which are among the poorest and most conflict-affected nations globally. Jeff.
Initially, the U.S. had slashed funding for projects in over a dozen countries as part of a significant decrease in foreign aid spearheaded by billionaire Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. More than 6 million people in Somalia are currently facing acute food insecurity, according to the United Nations.
They will include mothers, lactating women, children, but not limited to them. So those are the people really who are very vulnerable and who saw aid as major source of livelihood. But other people will be affected, especially people who worked for the aid industry. Worked for the aid organizations like the UN organization.
Mustafa Dirie, logistics manager and a contractor for the World Food Program for the last 5 years, expressed his surprise upon hearing the initial reports of the impending cuts and also discussed the potential consequences of funding cuts on the people of Somalia.
The US government had terminated its contract with the World Food Program. This was completely unexpected, and the impact on us has been immediate and significant. Many of us are the sole breadwinners of our families, and countless vulnerable people rely on this aid. Therefore, we respectfully ask for the support to be restored.
In the previous year, the US emerged as the top donor of the World Food Program, contributing $4.5 billion to the overall $9.8 billion raised. This is Jeff Abuki, GBS TV News.
A global funding crisis is threatening the lives of millions of children, with UNICEF warning that 14 million children could lose access to vital nutrition services. This comes as children face the combined effects of conflict, displacement, and climate change, putting them at greater risk of severe malnutrition and death. UNICEF has launched the Child Nutrition Fund, but urgent action from governments and donors is needed to protect children's health and future.
A global funding crisis is putting millions of children at risk of severe nutrition. UNICEF projects that 14 million children will face disruptions in vital nutrition services due to cuts in funding during a time when children are already affected by conflict, displacement, and climate change. This is exacerbating their vulnerability to nutrition and death. Despite significant progress over the past decades in reducing child nutrition, these funding cuts threaten to undo those gains. More than 2.4 million children with severe acute malnutrition may lose access to life-saving treatments, and thousands of nutrition centers are at risk of closure. The number of pregnant and breastfeeding women and adolescent girls facing malnutrition has increased by 25% since 2020, further highlighting the urgent need for intervention. UNICEF is calling on government and donors to prioritize nutrition programs for children, urging increased investment in local health services. In response, UNICEF launched the Child Nutrition Fund to provide sustainable solutions for malnutrition with support from global partners. Without immediate action, millions of children's lives will be in jeopardy. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
The ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
Are you all happy to see me? Yes, I'm also very happy to see you. We're going to make, ta-da, a banana milk package. Ta-da, friends! Now we're done with the banana milk package.
So today's topic is Rising Stars, young people who create, influence, and inspire. So
on an honest note, creating is hard work, and there are people who I see their work and they are constantly pushing themselves. Like wanajipush, kujipush, like they are putting creativity up top over there.
I think no one also prepares you for the fact that the better you become.
The networking is also very good. You see, there are people who have passion for, you know, videography, creating videos, editing. There are people passionate about that. If you are someone who talks and you meet people and you love people, you'll definitely meet someone who's just waiting to shoot you.
But also in terms of what I put out, it goes back to what are your values? What are your values? What are your beliefs? So as much as this is trending, yes, that is trending. Does it align with your values? Does it align with your beliefs?
You can be a star without the star position. Si lazima ukue hapo mbele ya watu. Si lazima wewe ndo ukue star, ndo ukue star. Hata ukiwa hapa chini, wewe bado ni star. And as she has said, discipline is a big thing.
My name is Tracy Otonde. I'm Miss County Nairobi, and I'm also Miss Embakasi East. Modeling is an art by virtue of the model and by virtue of the designers. That's if we look at modeling in terms of pageantry, you're showcasing yourself. You yourself is a work of art. You're a work of art, and you're showcasing everything that's in you and within you. And by virtue of the designer is because you keep showcasing the attires that they're made for you, and you have to look the part for you to be able to showcase what the designer was picturing. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador as we break down the developments for you and get the bigger picture on what's happening globally. Now, President Donald Trump has announced a 90-day suspension of tariffs in several United States trading partners while increasing tariffs on Chinese imports. The announcement came less than 24 hours after steep new tariffs kicked in on imports from dozens of trading partners. The decision comes amid growing economic concerns and market volatility and political pressure. Let's take a listen.
President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs imposed on several countries. The move came just hours after new tariffs had taken effect on imports from numerous U.S. trading partners.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions.
Well, the temporary suspension is intended to provide time for negotiations with countries seeking tariff reductions. The administration has simultaneously taken a more aggressive stance towards China. President Trump revealed that tariffs on Chinese imports will be raised from 104% to an unprecedented 125%, escalating what has already become a high-stakes trade confrontation between the world's two largest economies. The administration is maintaining a 10% blanket duty on nearly all U.S. imports, signaling that trade pressure remains a core element of its economic strategy. Trump defended his actions, claiming the U.S. holds a strong negotiating position and that China wants a deal but is unsure how to proceed.
Nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people.
Meanwhile, Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer criticized the administration's chaotic approach, but welcomed the retreat as a sign of pressure from Democrats and the public.
This is chaos. This is government by chaos. Donald Trump is feeling the heat from Democrats and across America about how bad these tariffs are. He is reeling, he is retreating, and that is a good thing. We are going to continue to put the heat on him because there are still much damaging tariffs in place.
Teresa Tiengo, GBS News.
For the third day, King Charles and Queen Camilla have continued with the Italy state visit hosted by President Sergio Mattarella. Yesterday, the King visited Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Then he addressed a joint session of the Italian Parliament and finally ending the day by attending a drama performance. Our GBS reporter Victor Odun has more details of this story from Italy.
Rome, Italy. The United Kingdom's royal family has for the third day continued with their majestic state tour of Italy. Yesterday, King Charles' diary was full. First, the king met Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. Then he headed straight to the Italy's parliament, hence becoming the first British monarch to address a joint session of the Italian parliament.
Peraltro, spero di non stare rovinando la lingua di Dante. Earlier today, I was delighted to meet with Italian and British business leaders whose collaboration, innovation, and investment in clean growth are so vital to our energy transition. Upon their success, all our futures depend.
The UK king wrapped up the day by relaxation and entertainment in a drama performance at the Matteo Museum.
Please be abstaining for His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom and His Excellency the President of the Italian Republic.
Here, the king interacted with drama students who explored Shakespeare's influence on Italian culture.
Amico mio, non mi abbia detto niente. Ma come dovevo dirtelo? Se ho mai sognato una cosa simile, non guardarmi più in faccia. Mi avevi anche detto che lo odiavi. E se non è così, merito il tuo disprezzo.
Victor Udun, the ambassador.
French President Emmanuel Macron have announced on Wednesday that France may recognize a Palestinian state by June. This move, he stated, could encourage countries in the Middle East to take steps towards
President Macron outlined his vision for the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, stressing that the recognition of Palestine is an essential part of the broader dynamic in the Middle East. Nearly 150 countries have recognized Palestine as a sovereign state. Many major Western powers, including France, have refrained from doing so. Macron suggested that France's potential recognition could be part of a larger initiative coordinated with Saudi Arabia to foster reciprocal recognition between Palestine and Israel. He acknowledged the challenges but stressed the importance of moving forward towards a resolution that involves both countries. Macron's proposal raises the question of whether this gesture of recognition could be the catalyst for broader regional reconciliation, or if it risks deepening the divides in an already volatile area. As countries like Saudi Arabia consider recognizing Israel, the international community must ask, can this movement towards recognition pave the way for lasting peace, or will it remain a symbolic gesture lost in the complexity of the Middle Eastern politics? The coming months could be pivotal in determining the future of this long-term conflict. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Mass protests have erupted in Buenos Aires as public anger mounts over President Javier Milei's authorities' measures, which have led to significant cuts in subsidies, pensions, and public services. These demonstrations reflect growing discontent with the far-right administration's economic policies amid achieving fiscal balance, including a controversial IMF loan deal. Recent protests have been marked by escalating tensions. On March 12, Police violently suppressed a rally of retirees and workers demanding the restoration of social security benefits, resulting in hundreds of injuries and arrests. The crackdown has drawn comparison to Argentina's 2001 financial crisis protest. Weekly demonstrations by pensioners have gained momentum, with the trade unions and other social groups joining in solidarity. Today, April 10, marks another major protest against Milei's policies. The General Confederation of Labor has organized a 24-hour nationwide strike supported by dozens of union and social organizations. Tensions between United States and Iran have escalated with the relocation of several B-2 bombers of a United States-British base in Diego Garcia fueling concerns. The bombers' movement is occurring after the rising hostilities in Yemen and ongoing discussions surrounding Iran's nuclear program. United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth commented that it is up to Iran and to interpret whether the bomber deployment is a warning. Abdihamid Ali has more.
6 B-2 bombers were positioned on the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia, a critical base for U.S. military operations. These bombers, which are among the most advanced and powerful aircraft in the U.S., are capable of carrying nuclear weapons and the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or the MOP, designed to penetrate deep underground facilities. This strategic positioning comes at a time of heightened tensions, with the U.S. carrying out bombing operations in Yemen and increasing standoff with Iran over its nuclear program. Experts argue that the B-2 bombers are not necessarily needed in Yemen. Their advanced capabilities put them in an ideal position to target Iran's underground nuclear sites. U.S. and Iran will hold indirect talks via Oman this coming Saturday, as the U.S. and Iran stand on the precipice of potential military conflict. The question remains: the deployment of such powerful military assets underscores the high stakes involved, yet it also highlights the fragile balance between deterrence and escalation. Can peaceful negotiation truly succeed, or will the mounting pressure force both nations towards confrontation? The world watches, hoping that diplomacy prevails before it's too late. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Now to our international sports. Tensions are rising ahead of the Europe League quarterfinal between Lyon and Manchester United, as Nemanja Matic criticized United goalkeeper Andre Onana, calling him, and I quote, one of the worst goalkeepers, end of quote, in the club's history. Matic's comments come after Onana claimed United States is, and I quote, way better, end of quote, than Lyon, fueling an already intense rivalry ahead of the bigger match.
Ahead of today's Europa League quarter-final between Lyon and Manchester United, Nemanja Matic sparked controversy by calling Andre Onana one of the worst goalkeepers in United history. Matic, who played for United from 2017 to 2022, responded to Onana's comment that United was way better than Lyon, questioning Onana's credibility given his performances since joining the club in 2023. Matic pointed out that if legends like David De Gea or Peter Schmeichel had made similar comments, they would have been taken seriously. Instead, he dismissed Onana's remarks, highlighting his struggles at United.
You know, I respect everyone, but to say that, then you need to get the answer. if you are one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United history, you need to take care what you are talking. You know, if David De Gea or Peter Schmeichel or Van der Sar say that, then I will question myself. But if you are one of the statistically the worst goalkeepers in Man United modern history, then you know he needs to show that before he says. So we will see.
Despite the criticism, Onana has experience in European competitions, having reached the Champions League final with Inter Milan in 2023. This rivalry is now more intense, with both teams eager to prove themselves on the bigger stage. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
And that's all for today. With me, your ambassador, Paul Madenge, on The Ambassador. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated through the day. Remember, this is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Good afternoon.
Everywhere, GBS.